we have no anti-war sentiment in this country. We understand that we have to eliminate the threat of these missiles, which is in many ways worse than the nuclear threat, because 3,000 of these missiles in the hands of Iran is an existential threat to this country. We understand it. Hezbollah opened fire tonight, Brian. I think the Iranians are outsourcing the battle against Israel to Hezbollah. This is the branch, basically, of Iran in Lebanon, and Israel is firing back as I'm talking to you now.
That is Michael Oren talking to me last night on One Nation at 10, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., not rattled at all. He's also a veteran, like almost everyone in Israel at some point serves. Joining us now is Zvika, Klein, editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post, to tell us what's happening. The thing that's changed for me, Zvika, when I got up today, was it looks like Hezbollah decides to get involved and violated the tenuous ceasefire. What has changed since they've been involved since? So how many times? I heard there was 5. Was it 5 drone strikes or rocket strikes?
Yeah. Hi, Brian. Good morning. So since Hezbollah decided to join in this war, and there were many that thought that they would not go in because Hezbollah is in a very low point after all of the Israeli strikes in the past 2.5 years. Surprisingly, they actually joined in on these attacks, and the defense minister said that that Israel will eliminate its chief as well as all of its other proxies and institutions. And Israel's now fighting a number of fronts simultaneously. So
for Israel, it must be a good feeling knowing someone's fighting by your side instead of wondering if they're going to cut off arms.
It's wow. I mean, Israelis are, Saturday morning, we're just like, no one's happy about a war, but, going in with the American military is something that never happened. There was a specific, very, targeted attack on the 12-day war last June, but it's an incredible feeling for Israelis, and it's a very big contrast, unfortunately, to the previous government.
So right now, do you think that the idea, the IGRC was the one pushing Hezbollah to act to try to change, to get them distracted from hitting Iranian targets?
100%. Listen, I mean, the IDF just exposed a few days ago that during 2025, Iran, the IRGC funded Hezbollah with $700 million while people on their streets were hungry for food. So we all know that this is it used to be kind of, we'd say, the octopus, right? Everyone knows this now. Everyone understands that this is the situation.
So if you look at where the threats have been, are you surprised the Gulf states have been targeted? Qatar says they've been hit 100 times.
Yeah, I mean, the Gulf countries, I think, is some of the Gulf countries, by the way, are not surprised, like the UAE, who have been planning for a situation like this for many, many years and signing the Abraham Accords and cooperating with Israel on so many security elements. I would say that Qatar is rightfully surprised to be also targeted, not kind of like what we saw in June, where it looked like it was like a staged act of, we're going to attack an American base, but no one was there. Now it's the real deal.
So about 9 Israelis have been killed. Is that number still accurate, Zvika?
Yeah. So, yesterday, nine civilians were killed in a building, in a synagogue, actually, during a prayer service.
So can you compare this to the 12-day war in terms of the cadence of the rocket attacks? Do you have a sense of it?
Yeah. So in the 12-day war, there was a lot more attacks with huge amounts, sometimes double digits of missiles being sent at the same time, as well as dozens of drones. Now we're talking about 1 digit usually, maybe a bit more than 10, but not even, attacking Israel. So it's a lot easier to fight them and to shoot them down on the way.
So right now there's 49 commanders are killed. What number do you have on that? That's what the U.S. is going with. 40 were killed right away thanks to you guys and CIA's intelligence. What phase are we in now, according to your sources, and what is the targets today? Here we are in day 3.
So I actually just got off a briefing with the IDF to go on to
Great.
your show.
Thank you.
So I don't have all of that information, but we're definitely stepping up to the second phase. I will tell you that yesterday, the amount of ammunition and bombs that Israel used within less than 48 hours is more than what it used 12 days in June. So the amount of targets that are achieved is very high. There are reports today about Khamenei, the Supreme Leader's wife, who was also critically injured. And as President Trump said,
she's dead.
Oh, so she already passed away.
Yeah.
And then President Trump says, the most, I don't know if the word exciting is the right word, but the most dramatic operations are still yet to have been played. I will also say that, hearing the speech of Pete Hegseth earlier today, I was inspired, both as an Israeli and American citizen. I feel like, the things he said really kind of gave legitimacy to this attack and explained to the American public as well as to the world why America is doing this.
Yeah, in fact, here's a little of Pete Hegseth and some of his remarks today. We also have him, and we also have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he also spoke right after, and he got a little bit more technical. But this is what he talked about, which led to this and how he executed it. First, here's Pete, cut 3.
2 days ago, under the direction and direct orders of President Donald J. Trump, the Department of War launched Operation Epic Fury, the most lethal, most complex, and most precise aerial operation in history. For 47 long years, the expansionist and Islamist regime in Tehran has waged a savage, one-sided war against America. They didn't always declare it openly, except for their constant chants of death to America. They did it through the blood of our people. Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan, funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carry the names of brothers who never came home. Brothers butchered by Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
I had a chance to talk to President Trump yesterday, and he said, I go, what, they're trying to reach out to you? He says, yes, they're trying to reach out to me. I go, on what circumstances? He goes, I don't know any of these guys. Tell you the truth, we killed most of the people I thought we'd be dealing with. So I think we're just going to go for victory. What does victory look like, Zvika, Klein?
I think victory looks like toppling this regime. That's, it's in the mission statement pretty much of both the IDF and the U.S. This regime is toxic not only for Israel and threatening Israel's existence, but for the West, for the United States as well.
Yeah, toppling it, they're already an inch deep, but they said that each official was told to name 4 successors, almost anticipating that they're going to be killed. Quick question. The Hezbollah new leader is Nassim Qassem. Qassem, and there's some reports that he's killed. Have you heard that, and have you confirmed that?
I have seen the reports about him being eliminated. I haven't seen yet the proof or the verified information about that. But I think it will be very difficult to. You can't just like Hamas or any other extreme ideology. We won't be able to take it totally out of population. But at the same time, killing these leadership. And a smart friend of mine from the UAE told me, he says, the U.S. and Israel are able to eliminate every single leader they want in Iran. Those that are still alive are alive for a certain purpose. So, I think it's fascinating. And you could interpret that in so many different directions. But I think it's accurate because the amount of intelligence and information that both the U.S., the CIA, and Mossad have for so many years there. I think it was all waiting for what's happening right now.
But Ali Larshan Johnny, he is an evil character. This guy is a butcher, and he seems to be in charge.
100%, 100%. Listen, just like Pete Hegseth said today to one of the reporters, I don't have a clearance. I don't know everything. I don't know exactly all of the intelligence there, but for some reason they want him there alive at the moment. But when they don't, he just won't be there.
I hope that's the case. But we got to get to the point, Zvika, where the people of Iran who don't have any guns and weapons can protest freely and have their voices heard. And I just don't know when that is, knowing that these guys have now nothing to lose, and they've already proven that they have no heart and compassion by killing 30,000 plus who were just speaking up against the regime. So what do you do with a desperate...
But up until this attack, right,
Yeah.
if this attack wouldn't take place, there would be more and more killings. Right. So this attack already showed, and when we saw videos being viral all over the internet of people singing and happy for the killing of Khamenei, you see people in the Iranian diaspora around the world who are suddenly, supportive of Israel. It's something we're not used to. So I think that step is already taken. And the next step, I definitely believe President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, I think there's a lot of tricks up their sleeves. And I feel like the next few days, from a military standpoint and even from a international relations standpoint, is history in the making.
I think so too. Also, I think there's a lot to be learned from Bush 41. And when he was in the Persian Gulf War, came with 500,000 troops. Major victory over the Iraqi forces, but left Saddam Hussein in power, but more importantly, left him with a lot of his weapons. And he was able to suppress the Shia who came up, creating bitterness with the West because the Shia were told to rise up. And then Saddam Hussein would sit there and push away sanctions for the next 10 years until 2003. So there's a danger in taking out a leader, and there's a danger in leaving that leader because he'll just gain power again, and surviving a lot of times is viewed as a victory. Correct, Zvika?
Yeah, I think that's definitely right, and I can tell you that I'm not worried about the fact of, okay, there's a void. Who's going to fill that void there, right? Because it could be another terrible person, or it could be someone who's amazing, but the people just won't support. So hopefully behind the scenes, and I assume part of taking time, from what I understand from my sources, with this operation was in order to create not only a situation where they could kill those needed, but also to allow leadership that will rise and be able to take this over, because 100 million people, whatever, you can't just, topple a regime without any sort of, hierarchy or officials running a state.
No doubt about it. Zvika Klein, our guest with Jerusalem Post. And now we have at least a two-front war going on because Hezbollah has decided to get involved from Lebanon. So the Houthis have declared war right away. They said, okay, we're going to get involved, but they haven't. Have they any signs?
I don't know. It's unclear exactly to why. But I don't think they expected what happened in the region now to be. In a sense, there's a bit of a paradigm shift when it comes to the fact that suddenly Israel, being the demon, suddenly is actually partnering with the U.S. and actually doing something good for humanity. By the way, Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke and said, reiterated yesterday that he won't let the Americans use the joint military base, and today a base of theirs was attacked by an Iranian drone sent from Lebanon or whatever. And suddenly, I haven't seen a statement today, but them and France are suddenly,
Germany too,
a bit less against this attack.
Zvika, it's pretty amazing from the American perspective they're usually the longest time to get our allies, and France is usually a holdout, and UK could always be counted on. But not with this prime minister, and not with this rusting military. They've allowed their military just to wither. Their fighters are great, but they've let it wither. And you know what? President Trump didn't give it a second thought. He's like, I'm going in. Israel knows what they're doing. I know what they're doing. I get along with the prime minister. Our militaries get along. We're going to be fine. And in my opinion, I think it freaked them out a little because they're used to being wined and dined and asked to come along. Final thought?
I'll just say, the mainstream media played this game. They keep on playing this game that there's a rift between the prime minister and the president. And it keeps on proving not to be. So maybe they should just listen and let them do the job, because listen, you could be left wing, right wing. They're doing the right thing at the moment, and I think not 99% of Israelis agree, and hopefully more Americans will agree too.
Zvika Klein, I know you'll write about in the Jerusalem Post. Thanks so much. Stay safe.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, back to wrap things up. I see your calls up there. I'll get to them next. And by the way, Donald Trump is speaking. We'll bring back some of that sound. He's at a ceremony for gold for Bronze Star Medal of Honor, but he's first speaking about the war. Don't move.